Alright, so for my culminating project, I chose to focus on returning soldiers and mental health. I'll start by explaining why I chose to do something about this issue, and then I will outline and show my campaign. So back in grade 6, or I guess the summer after grade 6, my family and I went on a trip to Europe, and while we were there, we made a point to visit as many war memorials and cemeteries as we could. This included Vimy Ridge, which you can see here, and while we were there, we were able to tour some of the trenches and tunnels where these soldiers lived years of their lives. Um, so while we were there, we really got a sense of what the conditions were like for these soldiers. This was a new experience for me because here in Canada, um, the country has not been touched directly by war, so it came as a bit of a shock, especially some of the cemeteries where hundreds or even thousands were laid to rest. So I believe that our family trip was really able to give me a sense of what war was about. Um, so when we returned from our trip, my dad and I started watching some war movies and documentaries, and this kind of furthered my understanding of war. And then again, when I got in high school in grade 10 for mandatory history, I was reminded again of war and war history, and I found myself to be very interested in the subject. So anyway, when I saw what this project was about, it took me a while. I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do until finally one day I saw an article in the Toronto Star about Stephen Harper's mistreatment of veterans during his time in office, and it was then that I decided to do something about it. So let's take a look at my campaign, starting with the Facebook page. So I created this Facebook page, and I said here, please feel free to share stories or support for veterans here in Canada. Um, Now, well, this didn't really take off in any way. My one post did garner some attention, um, as you can see here. So it was simply a link to my Change.org petition, which I will show you later. 1,871 people saw it. 11 people shared it. 34 or so liked it. Um, which is it's great. But I find some of the comments to be interesting. So Lawrence Whitco, who studied at the University of Winnipeg, says Trudeau does not care about war and battle, but he will when the battle comes to his front lawn, which um, I thought was a pretty good comment. Lawrence Chesson, who was a Canadian Armed Forces member, um, said if Junior wants to do something positive, he will resign. I think that was a typo. The new Veterans Charter that the Liberals wrote and passed in Parliament admit they were wrong at the time. Start there, Junior. So I think this was a decent comment. I find that online people tend to be negative a lot. So he was slightly negative, but he is a veteran, and so it was kind of good to have someone who's experienced these uh, wartime conditions to comment on this. And this person, David Powell from Regina, he agreed, saying, "Too bad Mr. Harper took the rap for it." And now Neil, this comment, uh, he was either extremely passionate or just extremely negative. So he said, "Cut the frat party and help the people in need like you were elected to do, especially these veterans." Now, Helen North responded by saying, Neil, take it easy. At least this is a start. Did you ever see Harper do this? But then again, maybe you liked Harper. Start the New Year's with a positive and nice attitude. It will get you a lot further that way. Which I thought was nice. She didn't do it in a mean way. She kind of tried to calm him down a little. And I'm not sure if you understand French, but her next comment was, Oui, nos vétérans sont la raison pour laquelle le monde est ce qu'il est aujourd'hui. Merci à eux. Il ne faut pas que les oublier. Il faut aussi que notre nouveau gouvernement s'occupe d'eux, contrairement à Monsieur Harper qui se fichait des vétérans. Alors, um, so this translates in English to our veterans are the reason for why the world is like it is today. Thanks to them, we must not forget them, and we must also make sure that our new government takes care of them, um, unlike Mr. Harper, who did not care about the veterans. And then finally, Neil responded by saying, "Sorry, Helen, I do not support Vetter. I'm an injured worker who has been suffering from a wrong diagnosis for over 12 years, and that's no frat party. Sure, I had to be positive. Hard to be positive about anything when crooks control your life." So that kind of related back and kind of maybe explained why he was a little negative at the start. But I find these comments very interesting because it means that I've created this kind of discussion. And then lastly, this Nicole from Quebec said "Quel beau commentaire en eau," which translates to "what a nice comment up there or above." So that was my Facebook page. Again, it garnered a little bit of attention. I like all the comments and stuff. But I also wrote a newspaper article which got published in the bottom right here to our veterans. So I'll go, I have another picture here, and this was not my spelling mistake. The editor, I did not write that, by the way. So anyway, you can read this, you can pause the video and read this, unless you can find it online. It might be online too. But I was happy that that got published. And now going back to, okay, so here is my actual petition, and I will send you the link to both this and the Facebook page so that you can look at it further. So again, this did not get the kind of support I hoped for, but it was again in the comments where I believe I touched the people. So here, I'll read them again, some of them to you. "Our veterans need help. Give them housing and medical care free. They are in this position because you sent them to war. Now look after them." So I think this was a good comment. It makes a lot of sense. And then we had this Brian Stevens from Jasper, Canada, who said, "I am a vet and I have difficulty dealing with VAC," which I believe is Veteran Affairs Canada. So that's good to have some another veteran that has commented on this. "Our Canadian soldiers put their lives in danger for us. It's our turn," another typo, "to step up and reinstate the services that they so desperately need." So again, a good comment. "We had a strong and free country because of these men and women. Now our country is being taken away by Trudeau and," another big spelling mistake, not sure what they meant there, "stand up like we used to. There are homeless veterans in Canada, but we are housing 50,000 refugees." So again, this is kind of the negative stuff that I talk about. I personally support the refugee movement, but that's another subject which we can talk about later. But he does support the veterans at least, or Pearl, so maybe a woman, but she does support this. And I'll return to this comment after because I think it's a good one to end with. Cared for, which doesn't really make sense. "Because my daddy is a Gulf vet and I've seen the struggles he faces. Everyone who fights, be it emotionally, physically, or mentally, deserves to live the rest of their life with honor and the ability to stand strong even in moments of mental and emotional weakness. Our government has failed our veterans time and time again, and it needs to stop." So again, this is someone that's very passionate, and they expressed it in a very good way. And I'm just happy that I was able to provide somewhere where they could, try and do something. "I respect our veterans," from Peterborough, Canada. John Paul from Ottawa said, "They have fought to make our country what it is today. It's time for us to show our appreciation and take care of them." And then lastly, "Although I will not be around much longer, and the reality is that veterans will be, and they need the help of the government that expects them to help the government at a moment's notice." So here is the final comment I will leave you with, and I believe it really sums up the people I was trying to help. "The once love of my life, my daughter's father, is severely suffering from PTSD. I believe it has manifested into bipolar and/or schizophrenia because of the lack of resources or acknowledgement. My family has endured so much chaos and pain. I am now in court, battling to protect us. It's the only thing I can do at this point. Vets need help. Problem is, they may not see it, but the family does. Watching someone battle mental health issues is heartbreaking to everyone involved." So in terms of the campaign, obviously it didn't garner as much attention as I would have hoped, but did receive some very interesting comments, and I think um, that was interesting to see people's concerns and know that I touched a few people around Canada. I think in general this was a really fantastic project, and I believe all it takes is for someone to see this and share it for it to become a huge issue and garner widespread media attention. So thank you very much for making us do this, and I believe this course was very good in making us think about the things we do every day and take action. So thank you.